Juvenile, and just a week on from a winning debut, he finished second in the Dewhurst Stakes. Quite a remarkable effort from him, really, and brings into the race a rating of 118 after that big effort in the Dewhurst Stakes. So there could be lots of improvement in him. We're getting a good shot of him now. Looks the part, doesn't he, Tom? He's a real athlete, quite an eye-catching looking horse. A little bit warm between his back legs, but he's got lots of size, scope, quality about him.
I love the horse behind, Scorthy Champ. John Gosden talked about the horses we haven't seen yet. How would they look? I think he ticks a lot of boxes. He does on form as well. He's drawn one far side. I mean, races have tended to develop over there over the last couple of days. Not that I'm saying there's any benefit to being over there, but I think that is of note. The miles should be absolutely no problem. Grounder plus, he's got a right chance.
One horse that has had a run is Yama Burther, who was fifth at Newbury in the Greenham on his reappearance run. That was a decent effort, but clearly he's going to have to take a big step forward at this level.
4 is Green Impact, Shane Foley, Jessica Harrington, another Irish horse whose form has worked out really well. The Delacroix form is strong. He's worked at the Curragh. He comes here looking great, and for all that he might have targets over further in time, he's rightfully here, rated 112.
What a lovely horse he is, isn't
stunning.
He is the pick of them for me. I mean, whether this is his race, Tom, I don't know. But we drop back to Benevento, number 1, who ran a nice trial for this in the Craven Stakes. He wasn't good enough to live with Field of Gold. None of the rivals were on that occasion, but a good run in fourth nonetheless. He was rallying a little bit at the finish. He might handle the track a little bit better. Second time out that he's been here to Newmarket. Very consistent horse through his career so far. I wouldn't be surprised to see him hit the money at a big price.
Swing round quite a way to our left. I'm just going to let those go. We'll pick them up next time. Number 5 is Ruling Court. Want to see this horse before he goes. I saw this horse in Dubai, loved him in the flesh, absolutely loved what he did on track as well. The only horse that Charlie Appleby has entered in the Derby. I got the idea from what he said after the race that might be his intended, realistic target, certainly over a little bit further. When he's absolutely ready to be a Guineas horse, I'm not certain, but I think he's a lovely horse. He's red-hooded.
Yeah, very strong in the market he's been as well, hasn't he? And the choice, of course, of William Buick. I'll
tell you what, we'll take a little pause there and then pick the rest up in a sec.
Yeah, we're back to Tom shortly, but Field of Gold is the 7-4 favourite. Ruling Court 7-2. 13-2 Expanded and Shadow of Light the same. 17-2 Scorthy Champ. Green Impact 12s. Wimbledon Hawkeye 16s. 40s Seagulls 11. Tornado Alert 50s. And the bottom 2 Benevento and Yama Be There. Both 80s. 11 go in the Betfred 2,000 guineas. Field of Gold the 7-4 favourite. Back to Tom.
OK, the remainder of the field then. 10, first of all, Wimbledon Hawkeye. He's been talked as a horse that does want further. He's not the biggest in here by any stretch. He had really good form as a juvenile, good form in his reappearance, and 3.5 lengths behind Field of Gold. It's hard to see him turning that around, but they're every right to be here, and they're going to set their targets up in trip off the back of this, whatever happens.
Yeah, he doesn't look as if he's done a huge amount of growing, does he, Tom?
No.
Wimbledon Hawkeye? But the horse that has is number 3, Field of Gold, behind him, directly behind him. Looks like he has tightened up a little bit for the Craven. He's quite a big, robust horse now. He's really filled into his frame, and I think he has tightened up a little bit for his run in the Craven Stakes. He looks $1 million, I'll be honest. It's everything you'd want to see in terms of him in the preliminaries. He's relaxed, but he's alert. He's on his toes. He's ready. He looks fabulous. He did it ahead of the Craven. He produced a big performance there and looks ready to do the same again today.
Seagulls 11 is the chest up behind. He's on his toes a good bit. Interestingly, he's rated higher than Hugo Palmer's winner of this race, Galileo Gold, was rated 110 coming here. This horse is rated 112. He got some good form from last year. Came up a bit short at Del Mar. You'd imagine he'll find something too good on his juvenile form anyway.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're going to lose Shadow of Light a little bit in the pack of the crowd, but he's the horse with the red hood on. Shadow of Light, number 8, does look a real sprint type in appearance, doesn't he? To me, he's not a big, imposing horse like the likes of Green Impact and maybe Expanded in the field. He does look a little bit more close coupled, compact, and just wonder about whether he'll have the stamina for this.
And that might be why William Buick chooses to ride Ruling Court. They're on the way out.
Field of Gold is still the favourite, 7-4, 7-2 Ruling Court. Expanded is 6-1, 13-2 Shadow of Light, and Scorthy Champ 17-2. Back to 12s from 14s Green Impact, 16s Wimbledon Hawkeye, Seagulls 11 is 40s, 50s Tornado Alert, and 66-1 Yama Be There in from 80s, and 80s Benevento. 11 go. And here is Score the Champ. Heading down to post. He's about an 8-9 to 1 shot at the moment. Dylan Brown-McMonigal on board. Let's hear from the trainer.
Quick word with Jessica Harrington, responsible for Green Impact here. Martin and I hugely positive about your horse in the flesh. I think he looks absolutely wonderful.
Like, I'm delighted with him. He did very well over the winter. You know, he was a very big, tall, lean horse last year, and he's really thickened out. And you know, he probably looks more of a mile-and-a-half horse now than a miler. But you know, as we say, take this in on the way.
Yeah, John Gosden, the responsible for the favourite, has talked about those horses we haven't seen yet, if you like, in a race this season. He's been to the Curragh, your horses.
He has, yeah. Only he did a gallop at the Curragh, and he's been away to the Curragh. Did a gallop up the Curragh racecourse, and he'd been away to the Curragh. You know, do a couple of other bits and pieces.
Okay, excited to see what you can do here. Good luck.
Delight. Thank you.
Thank you.
So there is Field of Gold heading to post, and we were just discussing over on Extra that it's a big day for Kieran Schumacher and the Gosdens. Obviously, John Gosden is hoping to get his first ever 2,000 Guineas, having come so close to it in the past with this horse's sire, not least Kingman.
Yeah, absolutely. He was the one that got away, wasn't he?
He really was.
I couldn't speak more positively about this fella, really, in terms of how I've seen him handling in everything. He goes down to the start in a lovely relaxed manner, taken down just steadily away under Kieran Schumacher, and he sets the form standard, I think, after that big effort in the Craven Stakes. The official handicapper doesn't agree with that. Shadow of Light, the top rated horse in the field, with 120, but Field of Gold has done it this year. He's done it on this track over this trip, and he's still improving.
Yeah, he is, and I like the way that he did it last time. He got sort of shuffled back against the rail. Kieran Schumacher brought him out to the outside to get an uninterrupted run, and he settled it really nicely. He made his ground readily, worked his way through the field, and came right away from them.
Late money for Expanded, into 11 to 2 now. He was a little bit cold in the market earlier on, but interesting that there is money coming for Expanded.
He's plan C, isn't he, for Aidan O'Brien? The Lion in Winter wasn't ready in time. Twain has got an unsatisfactory scope, and now they rely on the Dewhurst runner-up. Yeah,
I mean, good looking horse, really good looking athletic colt by Wootton Bassett, who's got 3 shots at the race. Benevento, Green Impact as well, and Expanded, who just 2 starts as a 2-year-old within 7 days of one another, and already has that big official rating, on par, for what it's worth, with Field of Gold, according to the official handicapper, with 118. There could be a lot of improvement clearly there, and the way that he ran in the Dewhurst, the way that he stayed on, stuck to his task. You
felt he might have been in the advantaged part of the track, however?
I did, but I mean, he very much gave the impression that a mile would improve him, and maybe even further this year. 5 to 1 now for Expanded. I thought he was helped by that on the day, but he still raced with a very good horse in Ancient Truth over this side in the Dewhurst and managed to beat him. So it was still a good effort. I think the trip will help him. Ground will be a lot quicker than it was for either of his 2 starts last year.
Just about to raise that. So that's an unknown. But on pedigree, you would think it'd be fine.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, I thought Field of Gold, Expanded, and Green Impact were the 3 horses that I liked most.
So is the last named potentially a little bit overpriced, Green Impact? Because he was my paddock pick also. Jess Stafford, who's working alongside us, it was her paddock pick. We all came to the conclusion separately, standing in separate parts of the paddock, which suggests he's got something about him, this horse. Yeah, he definitely has. He was the first horse I set eyes on when I wandered over to the pre-parade ring as well, and I thought, oh, he's nice, not knowing what it was, and it was Green Impact. So, you know, he looks like he's sort of starting to fill out, but he's not fully there yet. I think he'll continue to grow and develop, to be honest, because he is quite a big horse. But I like him. He probably will want further, I think. I think he's going to be a middle distance horse, but that hasn't been a barrier to running well in this race in the past, and you know, some future middle distance horses have of course won it. Absolutely they have. Let's discuss ruling course of the whole Godolphin, or particularly Charlie Appleby, state of play. He's got last year's top 2-year-old in Shadow of Light, when the Dewhurst beat Expanded in it, and the Middle Park over 6, but William Buick is now on board ruling court instead, and Shadow of Light gets a tongue tie. Yeah, Shadow of Light
we don't know that he'll stay. He should do on pedigree, Lope de Vega, and there's stamina influences on the dam side. But his brother Earthlight was a fast horse and a fast juvenile and a top class 2-year-old in the same way that Shadow of Light was. So
and didn't upgrade his form particularly as a 3-year-old.
No, I mean, I wasn't struck by him in the paddock in the way that I was other horses. He had a red hood on. He's going to have to relax to see out the trip. There's several different queries, I think, with him, for all that he's undoubtedly got a very high level of form.
Ruling Court
has been good the twice that he's won, but he has beaten horses nothing like the calibre that he's up against today. And the fact is, it's only 3 bits of evidence we've got, but the one time that he ran against a calibre of opponent in the same realm as what he's in against today, he wasn't good enough to win. Now,
this is the Akim you're talking about, behind the line in winter in Wimbledon Hawkeye.
Yeah, and he still ran well, but he wasn't good enough to win it, was he? And I didn't think he had any obvious excuses that day. Now, he might come back a totally different horse today. He was impressive in Meydan last time out, but it was, as I say, a completely different level of opposition to what he's up against today.
So if you're backing now, you're doing what?
I still think Benevento's overpriced. I think he could run a good race at a very big price and maybe hit the first 3 or 4. Field of Gold is, in my opinion, the likeliest winner.
And with the paddock pick being Green Impact. Right, last few to go forward for the Betfred 2000 Guineas 2025. Let's join Alan Howes.
They're off. Over 1 mile for the Group 1 Betfred 2000 Guineas in the 217th running of the Classic. And Tornado Alert is keen early on, the royal blue with the red cap, and will show the way after the end of the opening furlong. From Scorthy Champ and the blue and white stripes of Seagulls 11 is handy in third. Expanded over toward the far side in blue and orange. Between the pair of those is Wimbledon Hawkeye. Another length back to Green Impact. Then to the far side is Shadow of Light. Benevento's next in the violet silks. The white cap is Ruling Court. Field of Gold has been held up towards the back of the field. And last of all is Yamo B there. It's Tornado Alert that will lead them towards halfway. Shows by a half a length only to Scorthy Champ. Seagulls 11 remains handy just in behind them. Together there with Green Impact and Wimbledon Hawkeye. Expanded over toward the far side. Then Benevento and Ruling Court more near side the white cap. Shadow of Light is still being held up toward the far side, and so too Field of Gold, who is in behind runners at this point. Yamo B there is still the back marker. On they go then towards the final 2.5 furlongs. Tornado Alert joined by Seagulls 11, Green Impact. Near side here comes Ruling Court. Field of Gold is cruising up in behind the grey. Now he's asked to try and lengthen. Racing towards the final furlong and a half. Shadow of Light the far side, joined near side by Ruling Court. Then Green Impact. Field of Gold is trying to stay on near side. Then came Green Impact back in fourth. It's Shadow of Light together with Ruling Court. These two battling away. Field of Gold is staying on late. It's Ruling Court just in front. Ruling Court's won the 2000 Guineas from Field of Gold. Then Shadow of Light clear from Tornado Alert, Wimbledon Hawkeye and Green Impact.
William Buick has won the 2000 Guineas with Ruling Court for Charlie Appleby. That's a third success for the stable, for the trainer in the last 4 years. In second, it is Field of Gold for Kieran Schumacher, and the Gosdens just climbing a little bit on the ground when he really needed to be going forwards. But he's eaten up the ground inside the final furlong. Then third was Shadow of Light for Mikel Barcelona and Charlie Appleby. This was unexpected in many kinds of ways. The start of the season didn't seem to be rolling the way of Charlie Appleby and Godolphin, but here they are. They've come back with the first and third in the 2000 Guineas, and also they got it right in the gallops.
Yeah, absolutely, and the third win in this race from the last 4 runnings of it. We've had Caribus, notable speech, and now Ruling Court, who has battled his way to a game success. He travelled well, maybe not quite as well as Field of Gold, but he seemed to get lost when the pace was really quickening, didn't he, Field of Gold? He just hit a little bit of a flat spot. He's rushed home without ever feeling like he was ever going to quite get there, but it's still a really good run from him. We'll have to pick it apart again. You'll see William Buick breaks out of stall 11. He had the highest draw of all. He just gets across Kieran Schumacher a little bit earlier on, parks Ruling Court in front of him, and he's happy to take a lead off the likes of Seagulls 11 and Green Impact just ahead of him. Just there he manages to come across a little bit, doesn't he, and shuffle his way forward slightly ahead of Field of Gold.
He does, but I got the impression in the early early stages that Kieran Schumacher was quite happy where he was, getting some cover, and he didn't really mind having a horse on his outside and coming across. Up front is the eventual 4 Tornado Alert. It's been a great race for Godolphin. They've got 3 of the first 4 home, and that is Sire Binson Roswinner taking them along. We've already described where Ruling Court is. Shadow of Light is over on the far side in a similar kind of position, but on the far side of the track to the winner.
Yeah, he's run a huge race, hasn't he, Shadow of Light, and showed that he has trained on, he can be effective at a mile, for all that they'll have considerations in their minds about whether they do go back in distance. Obviously they'll be wanting to shuffle their pack. He could yet develop into a real Commonwealth Cup candidate, couldn't he, potentially, Shadow of Light, and I'm sure they'll want to separate him and Ruling Court when it comes to Royal Ascot. Just here you're thinking Field of Gold is all over them. I just want to see it again to see where he loses that momentum. It might just be going into the dip.
I think it is. I was confident he was going to handle the dip on the faster grab, but it looks like he might not have done. Let's hear from the winning trainer, Charlie Appleby.
Just let everyone else. 3 in 4 for this man, who's dominating this division now, and a 1-3 as well. Huge congratulations.
No, thank you very much. Look, I can spend all day here thanking everybody. Everybody knows what they've done. Yeah, each year it gets harder. You know, it was a great race coming into it. John's horse there, you know, he looked great, I thought, and obviously the way he won the Craven, he was the horse we all had to beat. And it's been hard for William, you know, it's a tough call to get off a champion 2-year-old, but I say the team have done a great job, and I feel we've all hopefully collectively got our heads together and got the right people on the right horses. Mikel's given the other horse a great ride as well. To have a horse like him finish the way he did, it'd be interesting to see what Mikel's got to say.
Well, I know has he run better than you thought he might, or did you, particularly over the mile?
The mile was just that question mark, it really was. Has he ran better? No, I wouldn't have ran him else. But look, most importantly, it's great for His Highness Sheikh Mohammed, Team Godolphin. You know, it's a purchase horse, as we know, but you know, justifies that he's a sire that you know we've seen a bit of last year. We felt that we ought to be involved as well, and he's been an exciting horse since we purchased him. Quickly,
The only horse you entered in the Derby has won the Guineas. Are you working back still from there?
It'd be interesting to see what William's got to say, and like I say, let the dust settle and let's enjoy the moment, and then we'll start to map the rest out from there on.
Feels like you've really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, family here. I say, I don't know, I feel like I'm getting older, but yeah, you enjoy these days and you learn to enjoy them because they're special, and you know, you can go through the season's highs and lows, and I think you know, I've sort of tried to teach myself, and to, I mean, William and I have sat down enough times flying around the world by saying, I might just try back and sit back and enjoy it sometimes.
Well done.
Take care, thanks.